For centuries, people have wondered, who were the first Americans and how did they get here? Scientists have searched for clues, ancient tools, bones, and now DNA, to piece together this epic story. DNA, our genetic instruction book, holds the secrets of our ancestors. By comparing DNA from ancient remains and living people, scientists can trace family lines back thousands of years. For a long time, the leading theory was that Native Americans came from Asia, specifically Siberia, based on physical similarities and tools, but real proof came from genetics, revealing a much more complex story. Scientists asked, are Native Americans linked to Siberians by DNA? The answer was yes, but with surprising twists. This journey will take us back to the Ice Age, across a lost land bridge, and into the lives of ancient people whose DNA still lives on today. We'll see how tiny fragments of bone and teeth can reveal epic migrations and deep connections. The peopling of the Americas wasn't a single event, but a series of incredible journeys. It's a story of survival, exploration, and the ties that link people across continents and millennia. Let's begin unraveling this ancient mystery. The first American story is written in our very genes. To understand the first Americans, imagine Earth during the last ice age. Massive glaciers locked up so much water that sea levels dropped, exposing a vast land bridge, Beringia, between Siberia and Alaska. Beringia wasn't just a narrow path, it was a 1,000-mile wide steppe, home to mammoths, bison, and ancient hunters. These hunters followed animal herds, living in Beringia for generations. The Bering Land Bridge theory suggests people gradually moved from Siberia into Alaska, not seeking a new world, but following their food. Once in Alaska, their path south was blocked by giant ice sheets covering Canada. For thousands of years, people may have lived in Beringia and Alaska, waiting for the ice to melt and open a way south. Scientists needed more than theories. They needed proof that these hunters were the ancestors of Native Americans. The search for answers led to the coldest, most remote places on Earth. The key evidence would come from tiny fragments of ancient human remains. These remains held secrets that would finally connect the dots between Siberia and the Americas. The story of the first Americans was about to be rewritten. The next clue was hidden in ancient DNA. A major breakthrough came from Siberia, near Lake Baikal, where archaeologists found the skeleton of a young boy, Malta boy, who lived 24,000 years ago. Scientists sequenced his DNA, expecting it to match modern East Asians. Instead, they found his DNA was a mix, 2/3 East Asian, 1/3 from a group called Ancient North Eurasians, relatives of modern Europeans and Middle Easterners. This was shocking. Why was Western Eurasian DNA in ancient Siberia? When compared to Native American DNA, scientists found a match. About 1/3 of Native American ancestry comes from this same ancient North Eurasian group. The Malta boy revealed that Native Americans are not just from one group, but a blend of East Asians and ancient North Eurasians. This mixed population became the ancestors of Native Americans. The Malta boy himself never reached America, but his people's DNA did. This discovery rewrote the story of the first Americans, showing they were the result of a meeting between two ancient worlds. The journey across the Bering Land Bridge was made by a unique, blended population. Their DNA is still present in millions of people across the Americas today. The Malta boy's story is a hidden signature of an ancient encounter. Ancient DNA had revealed a surprising connection across continents. The search for the first Americans' origins was far from over. More clues were waiting in the frozen north. In northeastern Siberia at Yana, scientists found two tiny baby teeth, over 31,000 years old. Extracting DNA from these teeth, they discovered a group called the Ancient North Siberians. Their DNA was unlike the Malta boys and unlike any living people today. These were true Ice Age survivors, adapted to the Arctic, hunting mammoths and rhinos. The Ancient North Siberians were not direct ancestors of Native Americans, but ancient cousins. This showed that Siberia was home to many different groups over thousands of years. The Ancient North Siberians eventually disappeared, replaced by others. Their discovery proved that the story of the first Americans was not a straight line. Scientists were getting closer to finding the direct ancestors of Native Americans. The next breakthrough would come from another ancient bone. Each new find added a piece to the puzzle. The search for the parent population continued. Ancient Siberia was a crossroads of human history. The family tree was growing more complex. The next clue would bring scientists even closer to the truth. The next big clue came from a skull fragment found near the Kolyma River in Siberia. Kolyma 1, a woman who lived nearly 10,000 years ago. Her DNA was the closest match to Native American ancestors ever found outside the Americas. She belonged to a group called the Ancient Paleo-Siberians, a mix of ancient North Siberians and East Asians. This new population was the sister group to the first Americans. Over time, the Ancient Paleo-Siberians were replaced by Neo-Siberians, whose descendants live in Siberia today. That's why the closest relatives of Native Americans aren't found among modern Siberians. The real connection was hidden in ancient bones like Kolyma 1. Her DNA was a time machine, revealing the population that gave rise to the first Americans. The family tree was finally coming into focus. The roots of Native Americans ran deep into ancient Siberia. The mystery was nearly solved. With all these DNA clues, we can now see the true family tree of the first Americans. It began over 24,000 years ago, when East Asians and ancient North Eurasians met and mixed in Siberia. This created the ancestral Native Americans, who later mixed with ancient North Siberians. The result was a unique population that crossed the Bering Land Bridge into Alaska. As the ice melted, they spread south, adapting to every environment from the Arctic to South America. Hundreds of nations and cultures emerged, all sharing a common ancestral thread. Ancient DNA reveals a rich, complex heritage, far more than a simple migration. The ancestors of Native Americans were a vibrant mix of peoples from across Eurasia. Their journey was long, complex, and remarkable. The story of the first Americans is one of resilience and exploration. Their legacy lives on in the DNA of millions today. The peopling of the Americas wasn't a single event, but a series of migrations. The first and largest wave, between 24,000 and 15,000 years ago, gave rise to most Native Americans. Later, around 5,000 years ago, Paleo-Eskimos crossed from Siberia to Alaska, bringing new skills for Arctic survival. They were followed, about 2,000 years ago, by a third wave, ancestors of Na-Dene speakers like the Navajo and Apache, and the Inuit. The Na-Dene show a unique genetic signature linking them to both earlier Americans and later Siberian arrivals. The Inuit, masters of the Arctic, spread rapidly about 1,000 years ago, replacing earlier Paleo-Eskimos. Each migration added new layers to the human story of the Americas. DNA and language both reveal these deep connections. The Americas became a tapestry of peoples, each with their own journey. The story is one of adaptation, innovation, and survival. Multiple waves of explorers shaped the continents. The legacy of these migrations is still visible today. The story of ancient migrations lives on in the DNA of millions today. Scientists can see echoes of these journeys in the genes of modern Native Americans. The Malta boys' DNA, for example, still makes up a significant part of Native American ancestry. Most Native Americans trace their roots to the first migration, but some, like the Na-Dene and Inuit, show evidence of later waves. This living history helps indigenous communities understand their deep connections to ancient peoples and lands. Science is confirming and enriching oral histories passed down for generations. The DNA proves the incredible resilience and endurance of indigenous peoples. Their history in the Americas stretches back tens of thousands of years. The past is alive in our very cells. The story of the first Americans is still being written. The story of the first Americans is still unfolding. Each new discovery brings more questions and deeper mysteries. Scientists are searching for more ancient bones and better DNA samples, especially from Beringia itself. New technology may reveal even older secrets and unexpected migrations. Where did the first mixing happen? How long did people live in Beringia? Did some arrive by boat? The quest continues, with every answer leading to new adventures. History is not just in books, it's a living mystery we can all help solve. Science connects us to people who lived tens of thousands of years ago. The journey of the first Americans is a story of resilience, discovery, and connection. And there are always more secrets waiting to be found.